Hello and welcome back to another parading of the troops. My fourth and final army for show off today will be my Russian army. As with all the others, this is a mishmash, though this is also my oldest army, as there are figures here that are in their, I want to say 30 years of age, give or take. I'll point them out when we get to them. And a good mishmash of figures here. We have elites, we have Perrys, we have front rank, and various other random companies that I've acquired stuff from. Though, to be honest, I've even got Prince August's figures here. Though, again, the bulk of these are elite miniatures because, I'll be honest, the deals are pretty good. And once upon a time, they were one of the good range of figures in style and relatively cheap compared to some companies. So, we'll start at the back and work our way through. So for my first brigade, I have the 1st and 2nd battalions of a Russian infantry regiment, hence the white colonel's colour, the pink and white battalion colours, and then another infantry brigade, infantry regiment, the whole thing is an infantry brigade. These are all elite figures. If I can remember which brigade is the oldest one, or the regiment is the oldest one, I can point it out. More elite infantry. Kiewa Shakos, just before anybody asks, as I've gone with the, I would say, the late war, the 1812 war. These are a battalion of Perry's infantry. And this is a battalion of the figures who are in their 30s. A lot of the other infantry are much younger, but these are in their 30s. Moving along, we have my Jaeger Brigade, again 4 battalions. The skirmishing stands are front rank and some elite miniatures skirmish infantry. The remainder are elite miniatures, grenadiers and command and riflemen. These are Perrys, with the grenadier company being done with the cap rather than the shako. And then this is a elite with front rank and elite with front rank. So the 2 centre companies are in the front and then the skirmishing companies are behind. Brigadiers are elite brigadier, elite general, elite colonel, and then a pair of elite officers. With the divisional command stand, a Austrian officer from the Victrix set and a elite miniatures colonel. Moving across, we have the field gun element of the infantry division, which is normally 2 field gun batteries of 6-pounders with a field gun battery of 12-pounders. The 12-pounders and their crews are elites. The field guns here, the 6-pounder guns here and their crews are elites as well. Same over here. Though a couple of the guns, for example this one, is a Prince August mould one, so it's a French gun. A brigade or artillery commander having a discussion with one of the infantry officers. And then we move over and we have my corps commander. Let me see if I remember correctly, I think that is the elite general, a Perry's general, and a elite colonel. So moving on to my, now this is an interesting one. I don't normally run Russian guards. They are technically a guards unit at some point. Everyone should recognise the Pavlovsky Grenadiers and their miters. Again, much like any French army or British army, you always have that iconic unit that everyone likes to have, and the Pavlovskys are the Russian equivalent of that. So these are all Hinds figures. These stands here, pretty much in part by I think it's 1 or 2 figures, are entirely originally mine, purchased by my dad for me so that he could beat me up with his poles. And this is a battalion and this 2nd battalion I added myself many years ago. And we have, that's the 2nd battalion of the Grenadier Regiment is the Perry's figures. And the 1st battalion is made up of elites. So 2nd battalion is elite, 1st battalion is Perry's figures, mostly in the hat, with a few mixed in with the shakos to show that they're actually supposed to be grenadiers. This is I believe he is a Hinds general, or Hinds grenadier officer on a horse. This is also a Hinds Pavlov officer on his horse. And these two are elite officers, grenadier and general. Yeah, the standard way a Russian infantry division is set up is pretty much that, including Lycorns in each gun battery, a pair of Lycorns for each gun battery. So I should have 6 Lycorns. I don't. Am I going to ever get them? I don't know. It's not something I'm ever really that worried about. Having field guns, and the Lycorns, depending on the rule set, aren't. They're the howitzers. It's debatable if they're actually usable or if they really make any real effect. Same with anything. Most gun batteries throughout most armies usually have some form of howitzer element. Most games, I want to say, most people hand wave it. I think saying most games tend to hand wave it. It's certain specific scenarios you might want them, but I don't know. Anyway, so onto the cavalry. This is inferior cavalry division. I will hold my hand up right now and go, I am missing the 2nd battalions of my Hussar and Ulan units. The Ulans, with the advantage of this, is I can just make more of them myself. These are the Polish Lancers, so they have their chapkas. These are the Prince August molds with their horses. These are my, I believe they're the Elizabeth Grad Hussars, or the colours of. They're elite miniatures. My wife picked the colours. I gave her one of my Osprey books of Russian cavalry and said, pick me a Hussar uniform, and she went with the green with the sky blue, which I think is very nice. Their general is the other Austrian mounted colonel, redone as a cavalry officer. Then we have my 2 dragoon regiments. This is the older of the 2 dragoon regiments. This was bought for my youngest brother, and now I've got it. And then this is the 2nd dragoon regiment, which I bought a few years ago. A couple of additions, maybe some odds and ends added in, but essentially dragoons are all elite. They're elite. Hussars are elite. They're Prince August molds. Brigade commanders, dragoon officer, and as I said, the converted Austrian colonel. They have a horse gun battery. In this case, it is a pair of 6-pounders with I think that is actually a Lycorn. I think that is a 12-pounder Lycorn, I think it is, because it's 24-pounder for 12-pounder batteries and 12-pounder Lycorns for 6-pounder batteries. So this one is a bit small, because I should have at least another 2 of these, or 1 of these. If you go to elites, they do them in batteries and half batteries. So I think I got the half battery set, and then the Lycorn. So I should have another. This again is a complete gun battery. I then have my Karazia regiment. These are Hinds figures. They are Karazias sitting at the rest. This is one of those things that I would like to purchase a 2nd regiment of these, much like I would like the 2nd battalion of these. And I really should make up some more Lancers. At some point I will make up more Lancers anyway, because I want to add them to my Polish force. So there'll probably be enough made up to make a 2nd battalion for at least them. And another little unique element of any army is the Cossacks. These figures I purchased from a guy at Crisis. They are, in theory, they're Cossacks for the 17th, 18th century. Yeah, they're Cossacks. These are more the Don Cossacks. These again are a unit that is about 30 odd years old, painted up by my dad. I rebased them a little bit as he had them on individual bases, and I need them in pairs. So these are sort of, they're a bit odd in number. The general comment is that Russian cavalry operates just like its European equivalent in regiments, whereas the Cossacks operate in sotnias. Some see it as a regiment, some see it as companies or squadrons. It's a cloud of Cossacks is probably the best way of putting it. You'll have them sitting on your flanks waiting to basically raid their enemy, because Cossacks are raiders, to put it kind of bluntly. And in the front here we have 2 more of my elite generals, who are, this case is the cavalry division commander. So I have a corps commander, I have an infantry division, a cavalry division, and a grenadier brigade, and then a relatively solid 600 to 700 figure army. they have fought both my French and my Poles quite routinely, and I like actually playing as my Russians. This was the army I started with, sort of forced on me by my dad. But you know, he started off. Well, what he gave me was, as I said, the Pavlovs, a battalion of infantry. I ended up with the Dragoon regiment, and then everything else I just went kind of nuts and just added on because why not? Do a quick flyby. .32 figure man units, same as with the Jaegers. I've gone with with the Jaegers I've done as I always do, which is the field the rear companies are done on solid 8-man bases, where the remainder are done in their 4s and a split bases. Didn't have to do it, but I just felt like it because it makes them look more like a screen of skirmishers rather than being like a big brick of 8 figures. No personalities, unlike in my Napoleonic Polish or British armies, where I have actually got the generals. As with the Poles, I've got Poniatowski with Napoleon. I've got Napoleon and Ney for the French. I've got Wellington for my British army. I don't have Bagration or anyone like that. I have been tempted to buy one of the a marshal of one of the princes, one of the marshals of the Russian armies. But to be honest, it's just one of the things I'd rather buy troops. I need more men. With this army, sort of similar to with the Poles, I am tempted to add about another brigade's worth of Russian infantry and another regiment of Jaeger as, I'll just sort of lay it. So a Russian infantry division's infantry component is 8 battalions of infantry with 4 battalions of Jaeger. By 1813-14, they're effectively operating 2 battalions of infantry with a battalion of Jaeger. So I have enough to make, in theory I can make up a pair of divisions of the smaller sized Russian infantry divisions. But I think it's one of those things where a lot of the scenarios I require a little bit more infantry and usually a little bit more on the Jaeger side. So I need at least another Jaeger regiment, and at least another infantry regiment, so another 4 battalions or so. And as I said, cavalry-wise, double that up to 2 regiments to give me a solid Cuirassier brigade, and then another pair of extra, the 2nd battalions for my Lancers and my Hussars. It's probably on the books. Do I want to get the Lycorns? Maybe, I don't know, probably not. It's effort, it means I've got to paint them. And I don't know if I'm ever going to use them because I'll just get used as field guns. Oh yeah, they'll probably just end up getting used as field guns most of the time. But this is, as I said, a 600-700 figure army, so this is a little bit smaller than the British army. But that's mainly because the infantry component is a lot smaller than the British army, while the cavalry component is much larger, but they're 24 figure units, so it sort of drops the figure count a touch. Do I want more Cossacks? No, I'm quite happy with the amount I've got. They're it's a good little wedge of Cossack troops. Don't really want too many of them. They're not really battle cavalry, they're raiding, skirmishing cavalry. They are useful, and they are. And in, for example, in General Brigade, they're the only cavalry that can charge into infantry in the woods. However, they won't charge an enemy square. That's what the Dragoons and the Cuirassiers are for. You don't use them for battle casualty, for causing. You don't use them to break squares or to attack formed infantry. You use these guys to run down the fleeing elements, because that's what they do. They're raiders. Anyway, with that, I shall leave you to it. I wish you a good day, and thank you for your attention.